Hello and welcome to episode number 62 of the Wise Guys podcast. I'm John Tortorelli alongside my co-host Brennan Capizzello on his flu game and Justin Ray. Today we have week 16 of the NFL season and more to cover. I want to start off by just a very random fun fact. I was reading up on Geno Smith, and sometimes when we're big football fans, there are those few players in the past that they ring a bell, but you don't exactly remember too well how their NFL career panned out. And one of those guys for me was one of Geno Smith's former West Virginia teammates. Not Tavon Austin, but Stedman Bailey. That was a name to me that just, I don't know. I don't know if you guys remember him exactly. He got drafted by the Rams, played there for 4 seasons. I was like, damn, he was so sick and then. I'm like, I don't even remember where his NFL career ended, but I want to start off the show on that very random notes. But how are y'all doing today?
I'm feeling good. Feeling good coming off of the Christmas holiday a little bit. Merry Christmas to our listeners. And right now I'm nervous as hell because I'm watching the Colts Chargers game and my fantasy football team's life is on the line. So a lot of nerves going into this one.
Well, like John alluded to, I'm feeling a little under the weather, but I'm here to take it to you guys because a lot happened over this weekend. A lot of good things for Brandon, actually. Besides being sick and being alone for the entire. God damn, Derwin James just lit that dude up. I'm
Saw
sorry.
that?
Yeah, holy crap. Um, but besides being alone for the whole day, football day was pretty damn good. Got to see the Dolphins lose 4 straight. Happy days, happy days. Got to see my boy Baker, oh, touchdown maker. And to cap it all off, the GOAT, Tom Brady, doing it again.
The GOAT did find a way just to barely edge out Trace McSorley. It was close, and for all of our listeners out there that are here for episode number 61, we do locks of the week. And it turned out the one person who didn't feel too confident in the locks, didn't like everybody else's, was the one person's lock that did not actually go through. That was B-Caps. He had the Lions or the Panthers, and as Dan Campbell put it, that was an absolute kicking. And meanwhile, the Cardinals covered, the Jaguars easily covered versus the Jets. And
The
Jared,
Bengals.
yours? Bengals?
Yep.
Close one. Shout out to Ramondre Stevenson. He had a good game. Starting off today, man, I nearly threw up yesterday watching the Rams trounce the Rams. Sorry, I almost threw up yesterday on Christmas Day while I was enjoying my day, eating good food, as the Rams absolutely trounced the Denver Broncos. Russell Wilson at this point is a broken quarterback, and I watched 2 of his 3 interceptions, and I just said to myself, this is not Nathaniel Hackett. This is very clearly a broken Hall of Famer that may not be fixable. But while the Broncos were getting trounced, a couple of fights broke out. One of which between Brett Rippey and the backup quarterback, and the Broncos starting to your offensive lineman. And there's also punches thrown out to the game between Randy Gregory, which turned out to be a suspension I'm reading currently. And this morning we found out Nathaniel Hackett has been fired after the Broncos' 4-11 starts. Hackett was a pretty good offensive coordinator, and the Packers missed him this season. It seems like for you guys looking at this current Broncos team and the last week after how good they looked versus the Chiefs, where do you stand on Denver? Is there a way they can be fixed? And for the time being, was Nathaniel Hackett wrongfully fired, or after this game, was it something that had to be done?
I'll take this one, B. I think it was something that had to be done. When you go into the season, I remember in the beginning of the season, all 3 of us had at least some decently high expectations for the Broncos, at least getting to the postseason or come close to getting inside the playoff picture. I don't think any of us could have foreseen a 4-11 start and Russell Wilson looking like this. This is nowhere near the Russell we've seen from his entire career. This is a massive regression. And I'd like to say, no, he's not broken, but it's hard to think that he's not. To see at least going into the season, we could have all booked him for a trip to Canton, Ohio one day. How And how bad does this season actually lower that expectation? I'd say going into it, it was probably like a 70-30 or 80-20 chance. And now what? Like after this year, if it continues to go downhill from here, it's what, 50-50 maybe? Um, it's been a rough go of it for the Broncos. Then again, some tough injuries in the beginning of the season. I don't think it could have gone any worse. I think the firing was justified for an 11 start for a team with huge expectations who thought they were a quarterback away, and to just get absolutely embarrassed on Christmas Day against a Rams team that's well out of it, that is starting a quarterback that wasn't even on their team 3-4 weeks ago, and that's the showing you put. The Broncos are put more of a fight against each other than they did against the Rams. That's something that they should be totally embarrassed about. I think the firing is justified, and maybe a guy like Sean Payton, if he's interested in rebuilding a franchise somewhere. Remember, Saints had interest in Russell Wilson before when he was there, so maybe this will be a match made in heaven. If there's a coach that can resalvage a career, it'll be Payton.
Yeah, in terms of Hackett, I know that I was the one on this show that coined the name Nathaniel Can't Hack It. And while it's a clever name, if I do say so myself, I can't help but feel bad for just the guy, the man Nathaniel Hackett, because I mean, he didn't ask for any of this. Like, let's be honest. He was picked because they thought they were getting Aaron Rodgers. And when that didn't happen, they were kind of stuck, and they went all in on Russell Wilson. And the team just was not a quarterback away. They weren't ready. And really Hackett didn't use Wilson the right way. And like John said, Russell has taken a step back. So from every level, it didn't work out on the offensive end. Now on the defensive end, it's top 5 defense, top 3 actually. I think they're ranked by Pro Football Focus. Well, yeah, it was coming into this game, and Pro Football Focus ranked their secondary the best in the league, even over the Eagles. But yeah, I mean, it was inevitable. I mean, you're not going to keep Hackett around for another year because you kind of know what's going to happen. It's not going to get better. It's only going to get worse. He's just not a head coach material. He's an offensive coordinator. Actually, I don't even think he was an offensive coordinator, John. I think he was the quarterbacks coach in Green Bay.
I believe that was Luke Getsy, who's now the Bears offensive coordinator. Hackett was the OC.
Okay. But yeah, so yeah, it was just inevitable for Hackett. He was this season just hasn't nothing has clicked on the offensive end. And when you're picked up as an offensive guy and the offense is inept, well, this is the outcome that happens. So as for what Justin said about Sean Payton, I tweeted, I said, if I'm Sean Payton, I'm staying the hell away from Denver. It's a dumpster fire. I don't want to be responsible for trying to rebuild Russell Wilson's confidence. So yeah, I stay the hell away from that. I look at the other teams that are just better off, like the Chargers or now I'm blanking on the other team that we've talked about before with Sean Payton.
The Chargers?
Yeah, I said the Chargers. There's another team that
Rams,
Cowboys,
Cowboys. Yes,
and
Rams.
the Cardinals.
Come on, what? Sean Payton. I mean, Sean McVay.
If Sean McVay retires, which is possible.
Well, yeah, okay.
Cardinals too.
Yeah, I'd stay the hell away from that too, because that's just no.
I really want to focus in though on Denver primarily. Sean Payton is not going to Denver. They have new ownership, and that's the only reason he would consider it. If they pay so much money, it's too much for him to just pass up. Nathaniel Hackett got fired not because the Broncos were just getting trounced, but because the locker room was lost. When your players are turning on each other and there's divide between different layers on each side of the football, the offensive line, the quarterbacks do not mesh. The team does not like the quarterback, and the defense has done such a great job this season. Yesterday, the 2 turnovers in the first quarter by Russ, that was what broke they're back. They've had an amazing unit on that side of the ball for years now. The issue has been you go in and get Russell Wilson, and the offense has gotten worse. It was better last year with Teddy Bridgewater. And it's kind of funny to me. George Patton, the Broncos' new general manager, who got the job in 2021, has made a lot of very questionable moves, in my opinion. His first draft pick was Patrick Surtain, an amazing corner who is arguably the best in the position this season. And he passed up Justin Fields to get him, a quarterback. And now that decision isn't exactly bad, though cornerback is inherently less valuable than quarter. What compounded that was the fact he traded multiple first-round draft picks, multiple seconds, an interior D lineman, and a tight end, to then have the right to overpay Russell Wilson $245 million. The reason we could have saw this coming with Russell Wilson is his entire career in Seattle, he had a great head coach and a really good system. That was what allowed him to come in right away. And while he was really good as a rookie, he had that level of structure. Most quarterbacks do not get that. There was no point in Russell Wilson's career where he had a rookie head coach. There was no point in Russell Wilson's career where he had to learn a completely new offense that wasn't going to be catered to his exact strengths. One of the weaknesses we talked about Russell Wilson was the fact he can't see the middle of the field too well. And yesterday, you would have thought him and Bobby Wagner are still teammates with that pass he threw to Murrow in the middle. I said to myself, what are you looking at, my friends? I've never played quarterback before, and that read to me is elementary. This third one, the cherry on top, he's got Cam Sutton open over the middle, right in front of his line of vision. And he says, you know what, let me toss a ball into the end zone. It's double coverage. And surely that was a pick. Russell Wilson has become almost a disgrace to this locker room because he hasn't led, he hasn't connected with the players, and he's been abysmal. So when you're getting paid that much money and you say all the right things in the press conferences, it's like, look, man, you are the issue here. You haven't adopted, and we've seen Seattle masked a lot of his, let's say, lack of versatility. He wanted to play his way, and they're able to cater to that. And now in Denver, because he hasn't had everything built around him perfectly, you lose your left tackle. One of your top receivers and one of your top running backs go down. All of a sudden, Russell Wilson is being exposed. With Nathaniel Hackett, I agree with you, Brandon. These head coaches have really tough jobs. And particularly for an assistant like him, he's going to get a job in Green Bay or whatever. But to have to move your family back and forth with all the humiliation that comes with being dubbed one of the worst head coaches of all time, that's a lot from the human being complex. So I, of course, feel for Hackett. I wish him the best. But he was in over his head with this job, too. He was expected to come in and be able to coach a guy who he's very familiar with in Aaron Rodgers. The two clicked. And that personality Hackett had was really what made him such a compelling character to have lead this locker room. When you don't get him and you bring in an enigmatic character, an enigmatic leader, and Russell Wilson, it becomes dicey because these two have not worked together before. And quite frankly, Hackett did not prove himself. And so this season, for me, it's been a disaster, and I think it all falls on the general manager that a lot of Bronco fans have talked highly of. One of my buddies from the Pick Aside podcast, Drew, saying he's done a great job. George Patton's done an awful job. Terrible job. Awful. You take a corner over a quarterback. You then pay Russell Wilson out the wazoo. You sacrifice a ton of draft capital for one of the worst contracts in the NFL, and then to put the cherry on top, in the process, you didn't hire the right head coach. You know, it's funny to me. I believe hiring the offensive mind is always the right way to go, because if you hit on that offensive play caller as a head, let's say Mike McDaniel, he's a great example. You're not going to lose that guy who works with your quarterback. But it doesn't matter if you hire a great offensive mind if the guy is not ready to be a head coach in the league. The Broncos are one of those few teams that go with the offensive guy and it just doesn't work out whatsoever. So, I mean, I think a lot of the blame goes in the organization to believing they were ready to win when they never were. And so this, to me, should not be a surprise. It's like, well, you walked into a ditch. It's like, oh, I fell. This is what you should have expected all along. The injuries have only made that so much worse.
You know what? I gotta correct you. I feel like on one point is I don't want to knock George Patton. Sure, you want to criticize the head coaching hire. That's fine. You could criticize the move for Russell Wilson. That's fine. But that's about it. Because I do actually believe that this Broncos team was capable of a lot more if you just gotten those two picks correctly. I'm not going to judge him based on the certain draft pick or not drafting Justin Fields, because even with Justin Fields, doesn't necessarily make this team ready for anything, because he would still have to develop. I'm a big believer in, just because the quarterback is supremely talented doesn't mean that he's going to succeed in every single spot. And case in point is Russell Wilson. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. Every quarterback story would be different. I got to use a Tom Brady comparison, where if he's not in New England, if he's not drafted by New England, he doesn't turn into Tom Brady. There's so I can't say that, oh, if Justin Fields goes here, he's automatically the savior. No, because now you still have a hole in your cornerback spot. Your defense wins championships. If they would have had a better head coach, if a better system for Russell Wilson, who's to say we're not looking at this Broncos team a little differently? Now, if you go up and down their schedule, you'll see games, so many one possession losses. They're in there because of the defense. They're in there because of guys like Patrick Surtain. And I feel like they're losing not just solely on the back of Russell Wilson, but also injuries, O-line, inconsistent play from the O-line. So that's a failure, not just from the front office, but even the locker room. That's a failure on the players' parts too. Like, they have to step up. That chemistry isn't made by the coaches. That chemistry is supposed to be formed from your players, formed by teammates. And the fact that your quarterbacks are going at it with your O-linemen, that is probably the worst possible scenario that you want. Zach Wilson is out here gifting O-linemen. And the Broncos quarterbacks are fighting with their O-linemen. Come on, those are the guys that protect you. And while, albeit they haven't done such a great job of it, you're not supposed to be fighting with them on the sideline. That just looks like a broken locker room. And I understand the point where you guys say you feel bad for Nathaniel Hackett. I do too, because you never want to see anybody lose their job. And the way the NFL seems to work, he'll bounce back just fine. He'll find a different place. He'll find a place probably way more comfortable with a lot less scrutiny than he'll get as a head coach. So I think the Broncos are still there. I think they have a very good potential roster. And it's just a matter of quarterback. It's a matter of head coach. You got to find the right fit. And I think Russell Wilson can be the right fit. But now you have to find a coach that will fit him. And I think, like I said, while you said Sean Payton should probably stay far away from Denver, I say why? Why would he stay far away from that place? Denver's a great place to go and coach, great place to win if you can. And I don't know. I think you go into a spot and you just rebuild Russell Wilson. While it may be easier said than done, like I said, I don't think there's no better coach to coach Russell Wilson than Sean Payton. I think they'll be back if they make a move like that. Or Harbaugh. Come on, like, you got to pay the money. Can't keep flip flopping with head coaches, man. Too many already. Well, who has it been? It's been Vance Joseph, Vic Fangio, right? And now Nathaniel Hackett.
And Justin, I think you had a great point there. I'm going to list you guys some assistants around the NFL, offensive minds particularly. I believe more in going on the offensive route. And I want to hear if you guys think this could be a good option for the Broncos. Or not that a good option, but this would actually solve the Russell Wilson problem, because this year it hasn't been inaccuracy, it's been process. The decision-making, the inability to read the field, and then the carelessness with the football, all those things have reared its ugly head. The first name up, Sean Payton. Would he be able to fix Russell Wilson?
Yes.
I'm inclined to say yes because I trust Sean Payton. I wouldn't take the risk.
There's no doubt for me. Sean Payton would go with the Chargers and probably torture Bronco fans for a while, Justin Herbert. But yes, I think Sean Payton is the one guy you can confidently say would at least properly support Russ. Next name up, Ben Johnson, first-year Lions offensive coordinator, creative young mind that's done a phenomenal job working for Dan Campbell.
That's so soon. That's hard for me to even say. Yeah, that's like comparing apples to oranges. It's not the same. Sean Payton is a seasoned Super Bowl champion and then a first-year OC, just as a matchup. So I'm gonna say no.
Yeah, I agree with Justin.
I like Johnson a lot too.
Listen, he's great. He's done a phenomenal job in Detroit, and I sure hope it continues. But first year OC, come on. To say he's going to transform an entire franchise now is a bit extreme, don't you think?
Yeah, but we're seeing Mike McDaniel, who's young. He was the run game coordinator in San Francisco, and for the most
Fair.
part this year he's done a very good job in Miami.
Yeah,
For the
but
most
San
part.
Francisco is also a team that we look at as a Super Bowl contender. We're looking at Detroit as a fringe playoff team.
Mm-hmm. Because of their offense, which Ben
Mhm.
Johnson has been one of the most dynamic in his first year of calling the shots.
I'd argue that their improvement is solely based on the offense has been good all year, but I feel like their defense improving throughout this winning stretch is the main reason they are where they are.
Mm. Okay. Next team up, Luke Getsy, Bears' first-year offensive coordinator from Green Bay. He's maximized Justin Fields all year long. He's quickly risen up the radars of potential future coaches.
Big cap.
No. I think when you have a guy like Russell Wilson, you kind of need to make a splash name, and these names that you're bringing to me right now, besides Sean Payton, are just not doing it for me.
Think about the names that they've interviewed going into the season: a Kellen Moore, an Eric Bieniemy. I mean, even I don't know if they interviewed him, but even a Dan Quinn, for instance, I think he's a candidate to replace Hackett in Denver. If I'm not mistaken, that I read that correctly. But you want somebody that's already proven. Like, I'm not gonna say that if Eric Bieniemy goes into Denver, he's gonna turn Russell Wilson into Patrick Mahomes. No, not at all. But I mean, look at what Brian Daboll is doing with the Giants and what he did with Buffalo. Get somebody that's coming from a proven offense. I'm not. You already know I'm not the biggest fan of Kellen Moore, but I'd rather see him getting a head coaching opportunity somewhere than any of the guys that you're listing.
Fair enough. I've got two more names. Actually, three. One's a defensive-minded guy. Next one is Frank Reich, somebody that's won a Super Bowl as an OC, had some years in Indianapolis. What do you think? Do you think he could fix Russ?
Uh, I like Frank Reich. It's just no, I don't think so, because I just think that Denver, like I said, I think this year exposed a lot about Denver and how it's not really the team or the destination we thought it was before the season. So no, I don't think so.
Is that because of Russ? The
It's
injuries
it's
plus
it's
Russ?
how it's how the season has played out, how the offense has played out. Like I said, I'm not gonna sit here and blame Russell solely, because I think we can all agree the offensive line has not played well. The injuries, the running game, the receivers, the coaching, everything hasn't really been the offensive end. But yeah, it's just how the season has played out. It's just this team is not the destination that we thought it was before the season.
I could go for Frank Reich. I think outside of this year, I don't think he was poor in Indianapolis at all. I mean, look at what he did with the team with Philip Rivers and getting to the playoffs with Carson Wentz. Should have been in the playoffs. Carson Wentz let that team down. Um, I think he'd be a good. I think he's a very good coach. I'm not gonna say he's gonna turn the franchise around. I'm looking for a real game changer though. Now, Brandon has hinted at Frank Reich to New England. Maybe that'd be a better marriage as an OC, but we'll see about that.
Would surely be an upgrade over what you currently have.
Yeah.
Nico Rines, the current 49ers defensive coordinator, a fast riser after his days in Houston and Philadelphia, has one of the best in the game at the linebacker spot.
I'll say yeah. I'll say yeah, but I feel like Russ probably needs more of an offensive guy to just get him back to where he needs to be. But D'Amico Ryans is definitely a great candidate for a head coaching spot somewhere. Look what he's doing with that defense.
Big things.
For D'Amico, man, I think he should be, but again, I'm so skeptical on this Denver team, man, because it's just you go there and you ruin your future for, like, I mean, look how long it took. What a shock to Josh McDaniels, and it was with the Denver Broncos too. Look how long it took him before he got another shot, and that, like, you go here, you fail, it's going to be a very long time before anybody's going to call your phone again. And I just would hate to see that. I think D'Amico Ryans can be a good head coach in this league. I'm not taking my chances with Denver. Sorry, I'm just not taking it at all. In terms of what Justin said, they might be looking for an offensive guy. I mean, you can get a defensive coordinator, and as long as you're defensive, not sorry, you can get a defensive minded guy as your head coach, as long as that guy understands, okay, let me go get an offensive genius, put him as my OC, and basically say, you run the offense and I'll handle everything else.
Key.
That's how, yeah.
It's McDermott and Buffalo, Belichick with McDaniels, New England, and there's a couple others too. If
Yeah.
you don't get that offensive mind, kind of like Robert Saleh in New York, you fail to develop that young quarterback. Or if you get that Dable and he ends up leaving, you have to find a new replacement, and so it is tough. I love what you said, Brandon. That is so true. For D'Amico Ryans, an African American candidate, you're oftentimes not going to get that second opportunity. It's not fair at all, but that can tarnish your reputation if it doesn't go so well. So I totally agree with you there. If I were D'Amico, if anything, I would wait an extra year in San Francisco before I go to a place in Denver that has shown we'll fire after a first season if it doesn't go so well. And honestly, I think there's much better alternatives out there, given this last year we had, 10 new head coaches surface? So that cycle is going to churn, and I think Denver would be at the bottom of those top lists, so to speak. The last guy would be Jim Harbaugh, the current Michigan head coach. We've been doing this for many years now, but in theory, Jim Harbaugh, who did wonders with Alex Smith in San Francisco, would he be able to turn around this Broncos offense? Brad, I know you're a little bit higher on him. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, I love the Hardballs. I don't think he should have ever lost his job. That was because the front office and him got, a little wedge between them, and they got him out of there. Again, it's like Sean Payton. I just stay the hell away, man. It's just not worth it. Call the Chargers, call Dallas, call these other teams that are so much more promising and you can look at and have a good future with. The Denver team is just not at all. I mean, how much cap space do you even have with that Russell Wilson contract? And is he going to take a pay cut? Are you going to really have that conversation with Russell Wilson and ask him to take a pay cut? I mean, he should be able to. His wife is freaking Sierra, for God's sakes. But yeah, again, no. If I'm Harbaugh, if I'm Sean Payton, two guys that are proven in this league, Super Bowl champ. Well, no, yeah, Harbaugh didn't win a championship. He got to a championship, but he went to, what was it, 3 straight NFC championship games and a Super Bowl. Yeah, if I'm those two guys, you stay the hell away from there and you go to a team that has, something more likable and friendly and good.
And
I'm for the Harbaugh move. It's just is the Broncos front office willing to give up so much control? Because to get a guy like that, to pull him from Michigan, you're gonna have to give that guy a lot of say. He's not gonna be a puppet. It's gonna be his organization. And Michigan, if I'm not mistaken, is #1 in recruiting right now. So I can't really see him leaving.
yeah, I do know some of the fans are upset with them last year after they started off very slow and lost to Michigan State. But for Denver, I think they're stuck in this position. Justin, I like what you said about George Patton as well. He's drafted considerably vast, but currently I think this is a team stuck in purgatory. Speaking of enjoyable football, guys, we got to see a Cowboys versus Eagles showdown, and let me tell you, this game is starting to change some people's tunes on the Dallas Cowboys. But for others, they're saying, you barely beat us with our backup quarterback and Gardner Minshew. Which one of you two wants to start off first? Did this game stamp the idea the Cowboys can beat the Eagles no matter where the place may be? And more notably, is this make you more comfortable in them after these last couple of tough weeks against the Texans and Jaguars?
Uh, I'll take this one because I know Brandon was super hype about that game. So I'll just be short and sweet with it. I'm gonna sing the same tune that you just said, John. Gardner Minshew went into Dallas and almost stole a game from the Cowboys there. I believe they had a 2-score lead at one point. It was throwing the hell out of the football. Devontae Smith put on a receiving clinic. And I got to say, them going in there and losing by the score that they did, I feel like it just says more about how good this Eagles team is because Jalen Hurts, their MVP, wasn't on the field and they're still doing that. So yeah, I'd like to believe that if Jalen Hurts is on that field, they win the game. I'm not going to say handedly, but I'm saying they win that game. I have enough respect for the Cowboys. But that game showed something that's very glaring in this on this Cowboys team. And as good as that defense was in the beginning of the season, this is back-to-back weeks now. You gave up 40 points to the Jaguars and 34 against Gardner Minshew in that pass game. Teams are looking like they can score on you now. You know, as good as Micah Parsons is and as good as that defense was in the first half, like I said, they're proving to be very vulnerable. And when you're going up against a team as, gadgety as the 49ers, or while yeah, they beat the daylights out of Minnesota, you know, round two may be a whole lot different if you're going up against this team. So I think the Cowboys have a lot to worry about. It was a big win. They absolutely needed it. And I just still feel like Philadelphia is still the team to beat there, man, because if Jalen Hurts is out there, I think Philadelphia wins that game.
uh,
By the way, great to see T.Y. Hilton.
how do I
Big time
want?
place.
Yeah.
How do I want to attack this? First off, the Cowboys defense again, like Justin said, it didn't show up. He didn't mention 0 sacks, 0 QB hits. Not a good performance by them. For I think 3 straight weeks in a row, they've just not shown up. And Micah Parsons was gassed at the end of that game. I mean, he was damn near begging for a timeout. But listen, the Cowboys defense in terms of turnovers, they got them. They got 4 turnovers that game. But here's the silver lining that I don't think either of you guys can really take away, and I'd love to hear John's thoughts. I know he's probably going to beat around the bush and find some way to disparage him. Dak Prescott, after that first interception, that was just one of the most laziest throws I've ever seen in my life. He came out of that and played. I don't think you could have played any better football from the quarterback position after that interception from Dak Prescott. Still, while getting sacked 6 times, he was able to post 347 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, and 6 carries for 41 yards. He had an 86.5 QBR. Him and CD, they found that connection yesterday against that vaunted Eagles secondary. Now, you guys brought up that Jalen Hurts wasn't there. If I'm not mistaken, Darius Slay and all those defenders were healthy. And
Not exactly. They were
Okay,
missing Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Avante Maddox, their nickel corner left the game. But yeah, you're right. Slay
Okay.
didn't have his best day.
Yeah, but again, for the most part, that defense was pretty much healthy. I mean, the Cowboys were missing Leighton Vander Esch. They're missing basically everybody else besides Trayvon Diggs in the cornerback position as well. So I would say the Eagles are a more healthier team right now than the Dallas Cowboys. And Dak Prescott went out there and absolutely showed up and showed out. So that gave me all the confidence in the world to believe that I think this Dallas Cowboys team is here for it. Now again, I'm not gonna blow smoke up Mike McCarthy's ass because I don't believe in him when push comes to shove. While he is a good head coach, he's not the guy that's gonna put you over the edge. But great team win by the Cowboys. CD Lamb showed up. Zeke had an okay day, 16 for Tony Pollard didn't really do much on the ground.
61 receiving though.
Yeah, 61 through the air. He did his thing. But yeah,
Granted,
go ahead.
I'll admit it. This was a near masterclass performance by Dak Prescott. You hit the nail on the head. He throws a pick 6 in the first quarter, and the Eagles found themselves up 10-0. And I send you all a picture, a screenshot of me betting on the Eagles, throwing a lot of money in this third-party betting app. And basically, from that point on, Dak Prescott was money on third down, one of his best games. And I said to myself, this is the best version of him. There was one play in the first quarter, 3rd and 5. Avante Maddox grabs hold of him, and he's trying to wrestle Dak to the ground. Dak is able to balance himself while he's got a cornerback just trying to rip at his legs. And then while he's basically wobbling, losing control, delivers an absolute steamer to Michael Gallup for a first down. I was like, okay, this is what I'm talking about. When Dak plays like this, 27 to 35, 347 yards, and 3 touchdowns after that pick six, this Cowboys offense is damn near unstoppable. That Eagles defense got to him all day long, and while he was taking a lot of sacks, he was doing one hell of a job extending plays. And you gotta give credit where it's due. This Cowboy team feels a lot to me like last year's Rams. The reason why I disparage them is because they don't have Sean McVay. I also don't think Dak's anywhere near, or maybe anywhere is disrespectful. I don't think he's on the same level as Matthew Stafford in those last couple of years. This year he's definitely been better. All that being said, the only reason they won this game was because Jalen Hurts did not play. I love Gardner Minshew, but we're talking about 4 turnovers for an Eagles team this year that has been the high-scoring offense because they've limited all the turnovers. Jalen Hurts' dual threat ability and his ability to limit turnovers is what allows the Eagles to win each and every single week. They don't make mistakes, and their defense makes you pay when you make that costly error. For the Cowboys, you gotta give them credit. To force 4 turnovers against an offense this damn good, even if Hurts was not playing, is a testament to their ability to generate splash plays. And when I look at this Eagles offense, even with Minshew, that's an elite group. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not necessarily going to hold it against Dallas for letting Gardner Minshew throw for what was 355. He's a pretty good quarterback, and their weapons are filthy. You hit it, Justin. Devonta Smith or Devontae Smith, he's a stud. He's emerging as a borderline receiver number 1. And for as much credit as we rightfully give to Jamar Chase and Jalen Waddle, that guy is so damn quick. He is a great athlete with great hands. He was making plays all day long. So when he paired that up with A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert, I mean, the Eagles are just going to put up points. It's what they do every single week. So I'm not necessarily going to be too critical of Dallas' defense, but ultimately, you guys are right. When they're not getting those turnovers, and when Jalen Hurts is in there, they're not going to get those as many opportunities. Minshew has given them those chances. They're going to be behind the 8 ball. So that's a concern moving forward. But for the time being for the Cowboys, this was a great win. And it's kind of funny to me. I've seen so many Eagle fans saying, y'all barely beat Gardner Minshew. Guys, and I'm an Eagle supporter. Y'all barely beat Cooper Rush. So that to me was a little bit funny. It's like, what are we doing here, fellas?
Yeah.
I mean, you both played each other without your starting quarterback. I don't know why the fans are going back and forth. The Eagles, to me, are still the better team because they have the better coach, they have more depth, and they're more balanced. I also think Hurts is a better quarterback than Dak. But all those things being said, Philadelphia can come out of this L saying to themselves, we're still in really good shape if we can lose 4 starters, one of which being Lane Johnson, and are still in a game with an 11-win Dallas team.
Yeah, I was going to mention that Lane Johnson injury. That's huge, an abdominal injury that I think sidelines him for the rest of the regular season and potentially even more. So they need that number 1 seed, and they seem to be on their way to locking that up anyway. That bye week's going to serve huge for a team that is going to need to be healthy down the stretch.
Right. Expect to miss a couple of weeks at the very least from the abdominal tear. His replacement will be Jack Driscoll, a former 4th-round pick who is a decent depth piece, but not exactly a Pro Bowl right tackle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those injuries are starting to pile up for Philadelphia, so that's something to keep your eye out for. Also, A.J. Brown left the game for, I think, just a couple of plays, but still, he's dealt with injuries over his career in Tennessee, so that's something to – and while I think we're all big fans of Devontae Smith, we all can acknowledge the kid is like 170 pounds soaking wet with a brick in his pocket. That is small, man. If you that's small.
Randy Moss was a stick.
Randy Moss was 205 pounds, Justin. He was a stick, but he was still 205 pounds, and he was 6'4", and he had a 50-inch vertical. Devontae Smith, he's on the smaller side, and I'm just saying that's wearisome. Okay, you take these big hits, your body's not more adept to taking those hits as the bigger guys like an A.J. Brown.
The guy played in Alabama. I don't question. I'm not worried.
Didn't he get hurt? Didn't he tear his ACL?
Yeah, but that has nothing to do
Jalen Waddle.
I think he tore something though. He still got hurt though. Like, I mean,
nothing to do with
over here disparage. All right, Justin, I understand you might be taking this a little personally, okay? We're all on the short side here. I am just saying he's 6 feet. I think he's 6'1". He's not short. I'm saying size-wise, he's 170 pounds, dude. If you just saw the hit that Derwin James landed on that guy, all
He's
right?
not thick, Justin.
He's not a thick boy, okay? He's not thick.
He's not AJ Brown.
No, and even look at AJ Brown. AJ Brown takes a little too much punishment sometimes, and he'll get nicked up too. It's something to keep your eye out for. The Eagles are starting to get the injury bug is starting to come around. You know, two major players down on the offensive end. Like John said, CJ Gardner Johnson went down in their nickel cornerback. They did lose Robert Quinn, I believe, for the year earlier this month. It hasn't been a good December for the Philadelphia Eagles in terms of injuries. And you never know. Is Lane Johnson going to come back? They expect him to. And when Jalen Hurts comes back too, is that shoulder going to be right? Is he going to be missing passes like he was against Chicago? Like John said, he was careful with the football. He turned it over twice against Chicago through the air, almost lost that game. So you never know with this. So yeah, I think I just think it's a major win for the Cowboys and Dak Prescott, especially for Dak Prescott, because he really showed up.
There's no doubt about it. No doubt whatsoever. And do I have to apologize to him? No. I'd like to see us be done in the playoffs first. But for the time being, he is slowly but surely showing off the Kirk
See, that
Cousins.
just makes no sense to me, John. Like, how are you?
I think he's Kirk Cousins.
No,
They're
no, no, no,
overpaid.
no, no, no,
Not that
not
they're
in
overpaid,
terms
but
of
they're paid so much it's hard to maximize.
not in terms of that. So when Jalen Hurts gets the massive contract extension, and let's say he doesn't show up in the playoffs, are you going to say the same thing? Because you already believe in Jalen Hurts now after he's shown you nothing in the playoffs. He's actually been worse because he's only had one appearance. He's been worse in that one game than Dak Prescott was in his first playoff appearance.
Tampa's defense was tailor-made to stop that Philly running attack last year. We talk about Hurts. The reason why I'm more
that means absolutely nothing.
The reason why is because the jump that he's taken from year 2 to 3, year 1 to 2 as a starter, while considering what he does as a runner of the football, that makes him a more dynamic playmaker. And at the same time, he can win from the pocket. I don't think there's much a gap, my friend.
How do you know that?
I don't think there's much of a gap between Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott when it comes to throwing the football. I think they're comparable. And then when it comes to rushing, Jalen Hurts clears Dak Prescott.
How do you know that he can win from the pocket when you've only seen him do it in the regular season? You haven't seen him do it in the playoffs. How do you know that he's a better pure passer than Dak Prescott when this is his 1 year of doing it? It's 1 year. So if he goes back and let's say next year he's not what he was the year before. He's somewhere in the middle of this year and last year.
The reason why is because
sticking to that because it just doesn't make any sense. Like,
it does.
This guy
have built around him, and we've seen him get better and better each and every single season. So what I do is project.
It's one
given his current
year,
development
John.
pattern.
It's one freaking year.
I do feel
trajectory. I think it's not crazy to say at all. He might be a better thrower of the football than Dak Prescott. He might be getting to that point too. He's a pretty good passer. If we're going to compare him to Lamar, I think he's a better thrower of the football than Lamar.
If he's talking potential, I mean, it's a feasible argument, but I'm with Brandon. I'm with Brandon where he says, one playoff start. But I would reserve judgment until we see what he's doing this year because this is a team with more expectation. Last year, we had no expectation for the Philadelphia Eagles. They shouldn't even have made the playoffs, and they did. And they just happened to be going up against the defending champions at the time. We knew they were going to get their asses handed to them. So, and that's exactly what happened. Now, this year, we're talking about a Philly team that's what? What's their record now?
13-2.
13-2. Okay, so 13-2. The expectation is so much higher. We're not just talking about Jalen Hurts emerging. We're talking about an MVP Jalen Hurts that needs to deliver come postseason time. Still, like I said, you could start judging him now. I wouldn't judge him on his first year, but even then, this is his second playoff appearance. But expectations are higher, so I wouldn't be doing the comparisons too much now because Dak Prescott is still a very good quarterback in this league. I get what you mean about comparing him to Kirk Cousins, but Kirk Cousins loses primetime games consistently. Dak doesn't do that. Dak has put on shows in the playoffs at some points. We got to give some respect where he's lost games based on. I mean, I could consistently point out this year of the pass to Jared Cook down the sideline. That's
Yeah.
We're probably talking about a totally different playoff run and talking about Dak Prescott in a different light if that throw isn't made.
And I just have to say, it's not. First off, again, you're doing the thing where you're comparing Dak because you have such a much bigger sample size to critique off of. With Jalen, you're just going off the positive. You're not even acknowledging the negatives.
Has
What?
Dak
So
ever
I
had
know
a
you're
better
gonna stop.
season than
Stop.
this?
What? What'd you say?
Has
Has
Dak
Dak ever had a
season?
better regular season than Jalen Hurts?
Yes.
No, he hasn't.
I don't know about that.
Okay.
Is
I mean,
His best regular season, he went 8-8 and missed the playoffs. He had a losing record for his playoff teams.
he was 13-3 his first year.
I'm talking about his best
statistical
production.
season.
His
Yeah.
best.
Okay, then why are you bringing up wins when you're talking about production?
When it comes to your individual best season, it has not as much to do about team success, but when you consider it wasn't driving wins, I put more value in Hurts' best statistical season.
So you're telling me that Drew Brees' 5,000-yard season wasn't as impressive as this one when he was going 8-8 against Jalen Hurts' season right now? Is that what you're trying to tell me? Because that's exactly what you just said.
It's different.
Oh, now it's different. That makes no sense, John. You know I
Because
just
Brees
got
did
you
not
right
have the
there.
support Dak did. Amari Cooper and all those receivers. The running
Yeah,
game he had, the
Jason
offensive line.
freaking Garrett as his head coach. Are you kidding me right now? Is there any comparison between don't do that? Is there any comparison between Sean Payton and Jason the Puppet Garrett? Come on. Come the F on. See, this is
I
where you
just don't
get
believe
caught
Dak's had
in
a better
these things.
season.
No, because you just get caught in these things. If you just compare them to what Dak in his rookie year was leaps and bounds above where Jalen Hurts was his rookie year. I will give Jalen Hurts the credit. He went out in the offseason this year and he worked out oh god, I'm forgetting the guy's name. I think it's Tom or Tim House. He worked with Tom Brady and Drew Brees and them. And really committed himself to learning how to throw the football at a better higher level, I should say.
Well,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Yeah, no, I don't want to cut you off if you got more.
Well, no, I was just saying that has shown, the commitment and leadership skills that he has and the want to get better. And I respect that. But again, for the billionth time, it is freaking, how many games is it? Because he just missed the last game. So it's 14 games. If you're going to crown a guy over 14 games, I would love to be your employee. I love it. If all I have to do is show up for 14 games, days, or whatever, God,
Weeks.
hire me, please. Hire me because I can just do that and then fail. You would ignore everything before that, which was failure, and you would just look at that, and I'd be like the king to you. You treat me like a god.
It's not fair, Jalen Hurts, to compare when he was a project player coming out of
What
Oklahoma.
about Dak
Well,
Prescott?
not
Fourth round
even, not
pick.
even,
Jalen Hurts
but
is a
not
better
even that.
quarterback than Dak because he's got a better situational awareness. He's got a better athletic ability. He's a much better playmaker given what he does as a runner of the football. And when it comes to throwing,
I don't give a
think
crap
there's much
about
of a
running
gap.
the football because when it comes down to it, you're gonna
You're
have to
trying to
win
win.
inside the
You're trying to get
pocket.
playmaking, man.
In the pocket.
But listen, you can't really compare the two from their rookie seasons at all. Dak Prescott walked into a way better situation than what Jalen Hurts did. This was a Philly team that was, completely retooling at the moment, as opposed to a Dallas Cowboy team that was pretty much Super Bowl ready. If Tony Romo was there, do we have different expectations for them? No, probably not. So
I agree totally.
Yeah, so Jalen Hurts was like John said, a real project of a quarterback when Dak Prescott was kind of just thrusted into this situation that nobody initially expected. But I'm not knocking Dak at all for that. Dak played incredible in his rookie year, and got to give credit to the best offensive line in football. A rookie Zeke Elliott with fresh legs going crazy. Des Bryant was still playing ball. They had a squad back then, so he walked into, I think, a situation that every rookie quarterback dreams of.
Exactly. And if we're going to be comparing rookie seasons, I mean, hell, Baker Mayfield's better than Josh Allen. You know what I mean? He had a better rookie season. So, I mean, fundamentally,
Let's
Baker Mayfield is the inherently better quarterback.
I mean, he actually might be, but that's a
Oh
different
my
subject for
God,
another
what are we
time.
doing?
By the way, Asante Samuel
Just
Jr. insane read picking off Nick Foles.
but no, I mean, John, I think your memory short serves you sometimes. But I would just go back and look at some of Dak Prescott's years. He has definitely had better seasons than Jalen is right now.
What season? Put out a season to me that's better than Jalen Hurts' 2022 campaign.
I mean, statistically, last year he threw for 4,500 yards, a 69% completion percentage, 37 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. You want to go maybe 2019, 65%, 4,900 yards, 30 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. He had 277 on the ground with 3 touchdowns. Yeah, I mean, he first 3 years of his career, he had 6 rushing touchdowns as well. I know that's not what Jalen Hurts is doing now. You guys love the running. I maybe that's just me. I don't really look at. I don't when I'm really comparing quarterbacks and stuff. I really just simply look at their ability to throw the football at a high level. I mean, if you can run with if you can run with the football, that's great. That's a cherry on top. But that's not what I'm asking you to do. I don't really care about that stuff.
You don't care about playmaking.
So Tom Brady's not a playmaker. You would not consider Tom Brady a playmaker. Peyton Manning's not a playmaker. Drew Brees is not a playmaker. Kurt Warner's
Running
not
the
a
football,
playmaker. Joe
that's
Montana's
absurd.
not a
Running the football is
playmaker.
a part of playmaking.
Dan Marino's not a playmaker. But those guys aren't playmakers, is what I'm saying. Are they playmakers? Does playmaking have anything to do with passing the football, or that just? I feel like that's the definition of playmaking.
Having the ability to run adds to.
I just said that.
I'm
that's a
with you.
cherry on top, but I don't really
It's
care
not a
about
cherry
that
on
stuff.
top. It's a
Yes,
different
it
dimension
is.
that hasn't necessarily been fully unlocked.
It is the cherry
recent
on top,
decades.
John. I feel like
It's
that
not. It's a
exactly
new
what you said
dimension.
makes it the cherry.
It's not a new dimension, dude. Michael Vick was doing this back into Steve Young in the 90s. What are you, Fran Tarkenton? It's not a new wrinkle. This has been happening. The quarterbacks just never have been getting it done. The running quarterbacks don't win at the end of the day. That's why I don't understand.
Michael Vick, Cam Newton, those guys were not elite level or really good passers of the football the way Jalen Hurts, Lamar, Kyler, and all those, Josh Allen, all are today. When you're great at both, that makes you one of the most unique.
You realize
players.
that Cam Newton had a season where he threw 35 touchdowns and 10 interceptions, right?
What are you talking about?
Cam Newton.
Yeah, like 59% completion percentage too.
So what? Jalen Hurts had one good year. So what if he reverts back? You're not even looking at that. We have a whole sample size of these guys to look at. You're just looking at the positives of those guys. Steve Young. He ran. He was a running quarterback too.
What about it? Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Okay. Did you say that Cam Newton and Michael Vick were not the elite passers? Again, you say elite, you just throw it around. So elite. So Jalen Hurts is as good a passer as Patrick Mahomes now.
I said elite to really good. Josh Allen, elite level passer. Kyler, elite. Jalen Hurts, really good. Lamar, pretty good.
Kyler's not an elite level passer. Get out of here. He is not on the level of those other guys.
Kyler's not a top 7 passer.
No, not better. No. Get the hell out of here.
That's funny, John.
That's you're smoking.
That's funny?
Yeah.
You're
guys,
smoking.
That's funny, bro.
I don't want to become the Kyler Murray defender here, but
I don't even want.
Why does he collapse every single year? Why does he collapse at the end of the year? Why does he go? Why is he going from like MVP? No. I'm talking specifically him. Why? Well, then why does he keep having a spout with his coach?
I'm just talking about his throwing ability, his talent. Then
why does he throw? Why does he go from MVP candidate one year and then just completely falls off the cliff the last 8 games?
The Cardinals suck. They didn't have DeAndre Hopkins.
He's a part of it. He's the best player on the team, or one of the best players.
The best player was suspended for the first month and a half.
Is he not? Is he not supposed to be the ipso facto leader?
I'm not denying that. I'm just saying he's a great passer.
I don't think
not elite. Elite is a
Not an elite
stretch.
passer of the
Because
football.
I can name you 7 elite passers of the football, and I'll be honest with you. If you would have asked me before this conversation, name 7 elite passers of the football, Kyler Murray's not even coming to my mind.
I think Dak Prescott's a better passer of the football than Kyler, but
I'd say Jared Goff too.
I wouldn't say Dak is an elite passer. I think he's very good. That's where I'm saying you throw these words around, John, and you got to just be careful with how you say these words. Again, it's fine to, ride the bandwagon for a little bit, right? Because everything's going good for these guys, but just pump the brakes and realize it's one freaking year. Do you realize how easily this can flip on its head next year? And then you're going to completely change your tune. That's why I say just caution, be weary, relax a little bit, okay? Give them their flowers, but say, I'd like a little more consistency. I want to see this more now. Because we haven't even gotten to the playoffs yet. We don't even know what's going to happen. Are you going to get, if we get to the playoffs and Jalen Hurts comes back, because first off, we got to just mention this. If Jalen rests the rest of the regular season, and let's say they do get the number 1 seed, you realize he wouldn't be playing football for how many weeks is that? 6 weeks, maybe? I don't
4
know if my
weeks.
math is right. 4? Well, he missed
last 3 regular season games in the bye
4,
week.
5. No, it's 5 because he missed last week.
Okay.
And this week, 2, 3. I think it's
4 to
5.
5 weeks.
4 to 5 weeks. Okay, that's a lot of time off. Is basically what I'm getting at. That's a lot of time off. We don't know how that injury. Are you gonna say if he loses? Let's say they go 1 and done, and he doesn't have a good game. You're gonna bring up the injury, aren't you? You're gonna bring up the injury.
I don't know how the playoffs are going to play out, like you said.
No, I'm asking simply him. If he doesn't, I'm giving you a scenario, John. I'm literally giving you it. I'm saying if they go in, they lose 1 and done, and he doesn't have a good game, you're gonna blame the injury, aren't you?
If he doesn't look healthy, then yeah, I'll probably talk about him not being healthy.
How are you gonna?
And you know what, Brandon? You are right. It is really hard to mass produce elite seasons in the NFL. And I agree with that totally. Not Russell Wilson, he kind of is. Matthew Stafford's a great example of that. Speaking of guys that can't mass produce necessarily, Tua Tagovailoa, a lot of people are saying, I've seen this all over social media, it's the running joke. He took the giving season a little bit too seriously. 3 interceptions, 2 of which an absolute... Words can't describe how bad the last 2 were. And the Dolphins have now dropped 3 straight games.
4 straight.
4 straight.
4.
They were 8-3.
4 straight.
And now they're 8-7.
Yeah.
What game am I forgetting? We got the 49ers lost, the
Chargers, Bills.
Bills lost, last week.
Last week.
Now.
So I just gotta say, John,
Packers.
let me
This
take
was a colossal loss.
This is. Oh man, I'm so happy, dude. I love seeing my fellow AFC East compadres be sad. I love it. Now I just can't wait for the Buffalo Bills to lose in the playoffs, and it'll be complete for me. But the Dolphins, I mean, God, I predicted the 3-game losing streak. You guys were here when I said it to you.
Yeah,
I said it was going to happen.
Yeah, you did.
What I didn't expect was them to go out there and lose to the freaking Green Bay Packers in Miami. I didn't expect that.
But you know, Packers were a different team when you made this prediction too.
They were a
much different team.
We did get a little snow in Miami, which is, a little interesting. But listen, I'm hearing some rumors that apparently Tua is in concussion protocol again.
Correct.
And some people are pointing to a second quarter hit, I guess you would say, where he landed helmet to the ground, kind of like a ricochet, whiplash, if you will. And then some people are saying, well, that would explain why he played so bad in the second half. Now, I don't know about you guys. I don't know if you guys watched the game in its entirety. I don't know if you guys saw anything that would have alarmed you in any way where maybe he was stumbling or, whatever. I just think he played a terrible second half. I don't know if he had a concussion. If he did, I'm being dead serious when I say this. I think it's starting to have he needs to start having a conversation with maybe his family about retiring, because this is too much. This is 3 concussions in 1 year. All right. And not to mention the injuries that he's piled up before this season.
But this is 2. I don't know. It was 3.
We're not quite
Was
sure, but he had that hit versus the Bills where he started stumbling.
Okay,
They
okay.
played the next week
yeah,
versus the
yeah, the
Bengals, and that's where
concussion
the
that wasn't a
first concussion.
concussion. Yeah. So at least he's been in concussion protocol at least I think 3 times this year. That's just not good. I don't know what the number is. I'm pretty sure there is a number where if you reach this amount of concussions, the doctors will basically say, yeah, you're not allowed to play football anymore. I think it might be 7, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong there. Um,
There's no set number necessarily, but from the people that I've known, not at the professional level, out high school, it's around once you get 5 concussions, it's like,
it's time to, yeah,
how important is the sport to you
yeah,
versus your
exactly.
long-term health?
So yeah, I mean, and we all knew, and this is why I was saying about Devontae Smith, Justin, slight frame guy, Tua, not very tall. I mean, for being a small guy too, not very athletic. Can't really run with the football well. I mean, he
Clumsy.
looks like me running with the football, and I'm not that fast. So we know the positives. He's accurate. He's got good. He's good at anticipating, but arm strength is weak, unathletic. Uh, after his first read is gone, he starts to panic. It's it is what it is. I try to tell you. I believe that he's like somewhere in the 20 range of quarterbacks in this league. He's not terrible. He's all right, but he's not the guy that everybody was hyping him up to be. He wasn't. He is not him as everybody was saying. Okay, no, he's just a guy. That's it. And the Dolphins seriously probably need to consider moving on because it's not going to work out with Tua. And I saw a tweet from I think Barstool saying, "Don't let Tua see this," where it was a tweet hashtag was trending of Tua turn the ball over. I think it was.
Mhm. Oh, the thing is, I think obviously, and I'm one of the people that sipped the Kool-Aid on the Miami Dolphin train a little bit. I really thought, man, with this offense, how could Tua fail? How could he regress? But I think the game that really spoke to me the most about Tua was the game against the Chargers,
Mm-hmm.
where he looked absolutely lost, and he was just going based off of reads, whatever his coach was saying. Hey, this guy might be open, and he's just forcing the ball into areas that had no place of being there. I didn't get to see the game in its entirety. I was wrapped up in the Giants Minnesota game. That was a great football game, but I think the problem here with Miami is obviously it is the quarterback, and if Tua isn't with the weapons on the outside, this is a team that's we can argue it can contend with just about anybody, at least offensively. But if your quarterback isn't playing up to par, then how good actually are you? How much better now is this team compared to the Jets, who are probably a quarterback away as well? You know, so I'm watching this Miami team, seeing how talented Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill are. Those guys are speed demons, and you can abuse defenses. And that's the showing we get. 3 picks. You got to play a lot smarter than that. If you're an NFL quarterback, if you're an NFL team, if you lose the turnover battle, there's a good chance you're probably losing. If you can't take care of the ball, which is one thing that we all thought Tua was good at, taking care of the football, he's looked abysmal over the last couple of weeks. 4 straight losses. You had a chance to secure even, you were in conversations with potentially grabbing a number 1 seed. If I'm not mistaken, RG3 said you're the best team in the AFC. And wow, yeah, play it, man. Play it. This is it couldn't have gotten any worse for this Miami team. And now they're going up against New England, to end the season?
No, so this is where I was gonna jump in again. So I obviously had them losing the 3 straight. I had them beating the Packers, but that's obviously didn't happen. So they've lost 4 straight. I had them losing to New England, which is this week in New England. I still believe that. And then they go back to Miami, and the Jets come to town for them. I think that they can
Mike White and the Jets. Mike
yeah,
White just got named starter.
I think they can beat the Jets to end the season, but I do think they're still going to lose to New England. Uh, Weather's going to be cold, brisky, and that New England defense is we got some playmakers. We got some special kids out there. Shout out Marcus Jones. That kid is going to be special.
At what position, by the way?
It does not matter.
All five?
He doesn't have one.
Football player. That's his position. He's a football player. That's all
He's
he
an
does.
athlete.
Yep.
A monster one.
So yeah, in terms of the Dolphins, the best I think that they're going to finish is 9-8.
I'll be honest with you.
Oof.
If they lose to New England, I don't think they're beating the Jets.
I agree with you,
8
Justin.
and 9, and it looks like maybe, depending on that last game, New England could possibly sneak into the playoffs, which not the best case, but
If Miami loses out and misses the playoffs, Tua's done.
well, he should be.
Yeah, there's no way you go back from that. 8-3, you lose out the whole way. You had a chance to bring Miami some hope right there, and you lose. No, he's done.
You want to know what's kind of funny to me? How last year the Dolphins started off 1-7 and climbed their way back to 9-8. Now keep in mind the reason they had those losses at the end of the season, or that one loss specifically, was because Tua choked. This offseason, they paired up Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. As Justin said, the 84-yard touchdown Waddle had in the first quarter, where he's able to juke a defender and somehow continues to accelerate to like a fifth or sixth gear, that was something you just don't see. Mike McDaniel has done everything he possibly can to maximize Tua, and Tua is a good fit for the scheme he wants to implement. But this is where the money counts. Tua can have his monster games versus the Lions, the Bears, the Browns, terrible defenses. But at the end of the day, let me charge my computer real quick.
In the meantime, Chargers up 13-3 against the Colts.
When you have
has no life.
When you have to play real opponents, high-level playoff teams and high-level playoff quarterbacks, or not just playoff quarterbacks, but quarterbacks that are elite, and you don't show up to the table, it's time we have those conversations. Did everybody overrate Tua? Because you're judging him off of games where he balled out with these speed demons against terrible defenses. Baltimore, he was hitting open receivers, but when Tua has to throw a guy open, when he has to break an open edge rusher and then escape, extend the play, that level of just improvisation is not there. The way you see with the Josh Allen, a Patrick Mahomes, even a Tom Brady, he doesn't have the pocket presence of a Joe Burrow. He doesn't have the talent of a Herbert. His margin of error is much more slim than any of those guys, Jalen Hurts included. I was wrong about Tua, and I'll admit that plainly. I jumped on the gun like everybody else, sipping my Kool-Aid like a fool. Because at the end of the day, to all the Dolphin fans out there that are supporting him so much so, they're on this guy, Justin Herbert, who's about to make the playoffs and take Tua's playoff spot. In spite of having nowhere near as much support, it's a clear sign that for Miami, it's a 17-game season, not 10. And I think a lot of people ran their victory laps way too soon. And now we're seeing, oh man, it's heartbreaking. It really is, because you want to see Tua succeed. But unfortunately, he's not getting it done. And that's what it comes down to. 4 turnovers to 1. The Dolphins almost won this game versus the Packers. In spite of missing a field goal, in spite of giving up a near kickoff return touchdown in the first quarter early on, they were able to overcome all of those things until Tua had, 3 interceptions in the second half? Or was it 2? That was the difference. This Dolphin team is great. Talk about teams that are ready to win now. They're ready to win now. I think it's quite clear it's not the offensive line as much. It's not the defense, though their secondary can be better. That defense has so many all-stars, so many Pro Bowl. Jalen Phillips is a stud. Bradley Chubb is a stud. Christian Wilkins is a stud. Javon Holland is awesome and continuing to get better. It's a shame that Tua is the one failing this team, and I want to see him do well. That's kind of why I had my agenda, so to speak, that he could win at a high level. But for Miami, if I can get Lamar Jackson this offseason, the Ravens are foolish enough to let him go, and they'll go the route of a rookie quarterback, I'll do whatever I can to get Lamar here.
I think 2 AFC East teams are going to be fighting for Mr. Number 12 out in Wisconsin. But I want to mention something, since we're talking about that Miami game. They lost to Green Bay, which makes the Packers' playoff hopes a little bit more optimistic, and it's very straightforward. I got the path to the playoffs for you right now. Packers need to win out. They beat Miami, they have to beat Minnesota, and they have to beat Detroit. All very possible. Or Washington loses one of two games against Cleveland versus Dallas, or the Giants lose out to Indy and Philadelphia. So the Packers' playoff hopes are definitely alive. And the way that they're playing now, if this was the team that we saw earlier in the season, there's no way they're in the position they're in. This is the team that could shock you, I guess. So I guess you can never count out Aaron Rodgers, not one bit.
Oh no, no. After being 4-8, now look at them. They're 7-8. And last two games are in Green Bay too, so that's major for them. Yeah, I'm not going to count him out. I'd love to see Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs over some other teams, just because it's Aaron freaking Rodgers and he gives you a much better show. Now, I do think that injury is still hampering him on his, I think it's his thumb, because he was missing some throws and he was not very happy about that. If you saw him screaming the F bomb on Christmas Day while the kids were watching Aaron. But yeah, that injury still bothers him. But listen, it comes and goes because he'll miss those throws, but then he'll make that great throw to Alan Lazard, or the one to Mercedes Lewis for the touchdown.
38 years old, still hugging and trugging.
He's still, listen, man, that guy's still got the arm talent. So,
Oh, it's not Mercedes Lewis.
oh, Mercedes, what? They're both 38 though, aren't they?
I think Rodgers is the same age.
Yeah, so yeah, that's why I was like, oh, you're talking about Rodgers. But yeah, Mercedes Lewis, yeah, he's still doing the damn thing. Yeah, like I said, I'll be excited to see Aaron Rodgers sneak into the playoffs, especially over, no offense to JQ, but the Giants and the Commanders. I just much more exciting of a matchup to see Rodgers in there with that team.
Speaking of elite quarterbacks, and I'm with you 100%, this Green Bay offense has found its rhythm with receivers. Romeo Doubs is healthy, Christian Wilkins' resurgence, and then, of course, just the chemistry you already have with Alan Lazard, who's played better. You look at the NFL division standings and the current playoff outlook. Man, the AFC is going to be an absolute dogfight this season. Last year we got it in the divisional round with Cincinnati versus Tennessee, and of course Kansas City versus Buffalo. This year we got Josh Allen as the number 1 seed, Pat Mahomes at number 2, Joe Burrow at 3, and Trevor Lawrence in the AFC South divisional spot. Number 5, Lamar Jackson. Number 6, Justin Herbert, as he's about to beat the Colts, it seems like, to move to 9-6. Number 7, Tua Tagovailoa. Now, is that going to be Tua in 2 weeks? I don't think so. I think it's going to be Mike White. I think it's going to be him. I really think the Jets are going to get that last spot. My Steelers moved to 7-8, but I don't know if we beat Baltimore if Lamar plays this upcoming week. I just don't see it. So Mike White, with all those elite quarterbacks in company, I think this year's playoffs is going to be almost as good as last year's, which was probably the best divisional round of NFL history in terms of enjoyment.
I do want to say, John, though, I don't think that, because I know we've talked about it before, Aaron Rodgers, is he going to leave after this year? I think he's going to stay in Green Bay, actually.
I hope he does.
After this stretch.
I hope he leaves.
No, I do think he's going to stay. I just think he's starting to get the connection with these receivers. Starting to build a foundation with them, and I just think that going into next year, I think Watson, Dobbs, and all those guys are going to be better. So yeah, I think that he's going to stay in Green Bay.
If that's the case, Jordan Love has to immediately
request a trade.
Yeah, immediately. And I, honestly, I think that's the best route. I've said it before on the show. I think they'd be stupid to let Aaron Rodgers walk. The way that he's still playing great football. He's a little hampered by an injury, but I still think Aaron Rodgers could win another MVP. Now, do I believe that the weapons he has on the outside are good enough for him to come back next year and contend for a Super Bowl? No. I still think that they can improve this team. I think you can still get him another big weapon. Because ultimately that's always been the problem. Get him that other guy. They were fighting to get Odell last season and they missed out. They've always been at the 1-yard line and are never able to get across. I would love to see Aaron Rodgers playing one more Super Bowl. I would love to see that, at least one more. So if I'm the Packers, I'm going all in. I'm not letting that guy go until we win one more.
No.
I actually have the exact opposite opinion. I feel like when you give a quarterback years behind a Hall of Famer and he sees the way that player conducts himself and the way he prepares, he is way more likely to succeed. And when that prospect has every tool under the sun, a work ethic, and high character, I believe he's going to be a star. I think he's going to be a stud for the next decade. So to have the opportunity to have Jordan Love for the next 5 years, I think is more valuable than the greatest Packer of all time for 2 or 3. And I know that's a hard conversation to have. It's about what you value. As Brandon does, I value longevity, and I'll say it, I'm a home run hitter. I'm a risk taker. I'm a gambler. No, I'm not a gambler necessarily. I'm too young. I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is when I invested all the draft capital into this kid. I traded up to get him, and he's going to have a fifth-year option. I have to make a decision on that. If I'm the Green Bay Packers and their general manager, Brian Gutekunst, though there is no pressure by ownership because they don't have an owner, I would be looking to trade Aaron Rodgers to a team like the Miami Dolphins, the New York Jets, someone that feels like they're a quarterback away that'll give us assets so that we can continue to build this offense. We then move on from a defensive coordinator respectfully, and we look to put Jordan Love in a position to thrive. That's where I come from.
Now, I want to touch on something that we didn't really get to talk about. And this is more for you two to speak because I want to hear it. My boy.
Baker.
My boy. Baker. Oh, Baker. Now, first, I do want to say this statement. Baker Mayfield is a better quarterback than Tua Tagovailoa, and it's no question in my mind about it. So Baker goes into yesterday's game, Christmas afternoon, Christmas evening, if you will. And what does he do? God, he puts on a masterpiece, doesn't he? 24-28, 230 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, 0 sacks. Way to go, O-line. And an 88.2 QBR. Whew. He did this against a top 5 defense with his best weapon being none other than Mr. Tyler Higbee. No, I did not misspeak. I said Tyler Higbee was his best offensive weapon against a top 5 defense. The floor is yours, guys. Just it's
He had a
time.
little bit of support by
It's time.
He had a little bit of support by Russell Wilson giving it away.
Nah, I don't want to hear. I want to talk about his performance though. Again, because last time I checked, Russell Wilson doesn't play defense. He plays offense.
This is a team sport, and when he continues,
I understand that, but there were drives where Russell didn't turn the ball over, and they had to go a full field on that Broncos defense, and he did. So I want to hear it. Please,
surgical.
Let's just
surgical.
Let's just be
was
honest, man.
Baker Mayfield on Sunday.
Let's just
24 of 28, 85% completion percentage, and 2 TDs with 230 passing yards. An even better performance, in my opinion, than his one against the Raiders 2 weeks ago. Because he trounced what is an elite secondary, well, not on Sunday, dropping 50 points. Now, he had some support. Cam Akers had himself a filthy day. Oh, my goodness, boy. The Broncos, he had the cooties. They could not tackle him whatsoever. Sorry, Justin, I want to make spit out. This Rams offense is being galvanized by Baker Mayfield, and it reminds me of Gardner Minshew. Now, the difference that Baker is number 1 overall pick. The reason why I compared them, Brandon, is because they're 2 very likable characters that kind of get disrespected because they don't have the best physical tools. Baker has the pedigree and the track record to show he can play at a high level. Right now in Los Angeles, we're seeing if Sean McVay stays next season and Matthew Stafford, A, is not right, B, he just isn't staying healthy when he does try to play, or C, he retires, Baker Mayfield, I think, is going to stay in a place where he has a consistent head coach. Through Baker Mayfield's career, do you guys know how many head coaches he has had?
I think he's up to 6 now.
Let's do it. Hugh Jackson.
Greg Williams. Freddie Kitchens.
Kevin Stefanski. Matt Rule. Steve Wilkes.
And Sean McVay.
7. And that's not even counting offensive coordinators because that's probably about 5 or 6 too.
And we can all understand that Sean McVay, elite offensive mind, elite head coach,
Mhm.
and so long as he stays, if I'm Baker, even if Stafford's in that quarterback room, I'm going to try to grab and grasp as much as I can from those two guys, learn and grow as a quarterback. Because LA, when you're rich, it's a fun place to be. When you're a quarterback and you have the head coach, it's an even better destination. If Sean McVay retires, where should Baker go? Should he stay in Los Angeles?
Well,
Independent of what Matthew Stafford decides to do. Let's
here's
just
the
say we don't know, and Stafford's decision is not made by the time free agency rolls around.
well, he did make an announcement that he is staying. He's not retiring. I will say this, regardless of McVay staying or retiring, well, I think McVay is going to stay. I don't think he's going to retire yet. I don't think Baker's going to stay in LA. I think he wants his shot. I think he wants another shot, and I think he's going to get another shot, specifically off of the Raiders game and this game right here. I think he's definitely shown that he can play in this league, and he deserves to be in this league as a starting caliber quarterback. Uh, and he's a phenomenal teammate. I don't know where the criticism came with him not being a good teammate. He's I mean, every time after a run play or whatever type of play, he's always running to go help his teammate up or to push the line forward more, just to do something, to be active. He's the guy's a freaking gamer, dude. And even watching the post show where the fighting started to commence, he literally pushed the reporter, not pushed, but got the reporter out of the way because she was about to get knocked over. Um, he's you can't help but not root for this guy. I that's why I don't understand where John's hatred for him came in. I know it was probably because I loved him
Hey,
so
he's a
much.
Steelers fan too.
Yeah, he doesn't want to admit that Baker led him to a first ever playoff win in 30 plus years and even longer on the road. It's all right, John.
I don't need to be reminded, okay?
Baker and Tom Brady, similar guys, both own the Steelers.
Baker did not snap the ball 10 feet over Ben's head. I
Yeah,
don't
but he
want to hear
did
it.
put up a
He didn't turn
94
over the ball
QB. He
four
did put up a
times.
94 QBR though, is that's what he did. And
Yeah,
if he was
that's
as
what I
bad,
call
time out.
merchant. A
If
merchant.
time out, John.
Living
If
off the
he
success
was
of his teammates who put him in that
John,
position.
John, if he was as bad as you said he was, what you called him a bust, he would have blew that game. Didn't blow it. Put up a 94 QBR.
So going back on the statement, I know you wanted us to talk about Baker Mayfield and his performance. It was incredible. He's joined elite company now for the MVP award with Mitchell Trubisky for Nickelodeon's most valuable player. So that's a nice trophy to have on your shelf. But and on a serious note, yeah, I think he's definitely earned himself another spot. A shot as a starting QB. He continues to perform. I think this whole thing with the Rams anyway was just it was a tryout. It was a tryout to see if he still has it. And I would have loved to see him stay with the Rams if Matt Stafford was to retire or if his arm isn't good enough to see him play with a guy like Sean McVay with a full season, a healthy Cooper Cup, and just a healthy Rams team. I would love to see what his potential may be. But I feel like you alluded to this, Brandon. You said he's a better quarterback than Tua Tagovailoa. So why not throw him in a place like Miami? If you can't draft a QB, you sign a guy like Baker, who has a great relationship with his guys, who can build a great bond in a
How
locker
you
room.
doing?
Yeah, that'd be an
How
awesome
you
fit.
doing?
In the beginning of the season, when we were talking about destinations
I
for
wouldn't like
Baker
that though.
Mayfield,
Don't do that to me, Justin. I can't do that because then he's be going up against us twice a year. I
I
can't.
know that would be
I don't
rough.
want to do it. I
But
don't want to do
I've
it.
thrown out places like I feel
New
like he's
England.
always had a New York personality.
Don't don't give
I
me
feel
hope.
like he could fit with the Giants. He could fit with the Jets. So I mean, he could have been a Jet at one point.
Don't go to New
So
York. Don't go to New York.
it's a
He would be
dangerous
great.
spot. But
He'd be
you're
great
telling
with
me if
Jets.
there's any personality that fits it, I feel like it's
They
Baker.
thought the same thing about Zach Wilson. He crumbled. Baker won't crumble, but it's just not a good
Yeah,
spot.
he's not the
Sean McVay.
personality. I've seen videos of Zach Wilson pre-draft. I forgot he was on a line with a bunch of people and they were throwing up signs and all that. And he looked like he was scared to even get in there. So he was in New York, but Baker has always been New York to me. Always.
Baker's big time.
I'll be honest
Um,
with y'all. I think Baker can almost fit in anywhere. Maybe like a chameleon. But there's no doubt in my mind, if you want a consistent Baker Mayfield, something we have not gotten, you need to put him in a consistent environment. Could he work in New York? I think the highs would be amazing. Be the best Jets quarterback since Chad Pennington. But the lows would put him in a tough position where we'd say, same old Baker, can't do it consistently. Which for you, Bryn, is your biggest criteria marker, I feel like. Can you stay healthy? Can you produce at a consistent level? Baker has these moments that make you say, oh, he's above average, but he has those lows which are crippling. I feel like for him, he has to stay in LA because when you give yourself that consistent environment with the healthy Cooper Cup and ideally a better number 2 next year because they're going to have their draft picks coming in now, that changes the entire game.
Basically, sorry for cutting it off, John, but basically where he needs to go is where a place where a coach like McVay actually believes in him and actually wants him to be there. Because whatever the case, whatever you think about Kevin Stefanski as a coach, whether you think he's good or bad, I don't really care. Him and Baker never really got along. They never connected. So with McVay and Matt Rule was just a freaking disaster, like Freddie Kitchens was. So with McVay and him, the one thing that I forget who was announcing the game, the Rams Broncos game. I forget who the hell it was. I don't think it was Tony Romo and Jim Nantz. No, actually, no. Yes, it was Tony Romo and Jim Nantz. It was. So Romo said one thing that I think Baker said to him or in a press conference or whatever was one of the things that McVay taught me so much and so well that has helped me tremendously with my game is how to use my eyes. And if you look back and watch that game, you'll see him use his eyes hell of a lot, looking off DBs and defensive players, going through his progressions. So he's even learning and continuing to improve as a quarterback, which is something you always want from anybody in any walk of life. You just always want to keep improving and keep learning and be like a sponge. And it just seems like Baker's finally reached that point where he is all ears and he's going to take it in because he, like I said, he was humbled after the Carolina debacle. And now I think he's ready to just put his head down and go for it now.
So
Tennessee would be a great option.
Let's have a little fun. I wanna list a couple names. Okay, I'm gonna name some teams that you guys would like to see Baker on. Yeah, just yay or nay. Okay. I'll start with a fun one. Washington.
No.
Yeah.
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 All right. So I'm gonna change the criteria. This is the team that we think Baker Mayfield can lead. So
okay, give us an emphatic introduction. Teams that Baker Mayfield can lead. Give us it for TikTok.
Teams that Baker Mayfield can lead a franchise with. All right. So are we going to roll with Washington? Are you going to stick with no?
No, I'm saying no.
Saying no. Brandon?
I think he can lead.
Lead to what? Sorry. Lead to what exactly? The playoffs? Playoff wins?
I'm saying that this guy can be a face of the franchise with.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe that.
Whatever team I'm naming, this is Baker Mayfield's new home.
Thompson. I think that he can. I think he's better than Carson Wentz. I think he's better than Heineke. You got Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, Dotson.
You have the weapons, but I don't like the coaching for Baker. And for that reason, I'm not sure how consistent he'll be in that setting.
I'm higher on Riverboat Ron than you are. Yeah.
All right. The Giants.
No.
Already declined Daniel Jones' 5th-year option.
No.
They're going to bring back DJ, but for the sake of this argument, yes. With Brian Dable, who we'll be working with every single day, not a doubt in my mind, he surely could. But they're going to need an extra receiver going off Wandale next year.
Okay. The team playing on TV right now, the Indianapolis Colts.
No. Terrible offensive line, limited receivers, head coach.
No idea who the head coach is going to be next year.
Oh, thank you.
No.
Okay. So to make it faster, I'm going to name just one more team. I feel like this team's overperformed. I'm going to say the Seattle Seahawks.
No. Could have had him last year. Could have had him before the season. F off.
Okay, Baker.
Straight up. Could have had me for a trade. You decided not to. You wanted to go with Geno Smith. You disrespected me. I'm not going there.
were they disrespecting Baker, or after seeing Geno in their building for 3 seasons, Pete Carroll said, I want to keep this guy who got to learn from the likes of Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, and Russell Wilson, got to sponge all of that knowledge in, and after all of the years of learning and growing, and then last year playing really good in the 3 games Russell Wilson missed, they said, you know what, we're going to ride Geno. I think
No,
it's the latter.
no,
They like Geno
disrespect.
so much, they didn't want to bring in Baker to be a backup quarterback because they liked what they already had.
Well, he would have beaten Geno out for the job, but
Not true. Geno's a better quarterback than Baker.
I could see Seattle being a good fit because you know what, as great as Geno's been this year, I don't think any of us are going to say this is a franchise guy. This is who the Seahawks should be leaning on going forward. So if you can go with a younger option, I mean, a former #1 overall pick who can play with those weapons that you have, Kenneth Walker is fantastic. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and the draft pick that I mean, at the moment it seems like they're going to have the #3 overall pick. So this is a team that's only getting better. So while yes, they can draft a quarterback, or you can draft another skill position, another O lineman, somebody on the defensive side, and then you bring in a guy like Baker, who I mentioned earlier is loved by his teammates. He's a great. He just brings a great attitude. I feel. Like Brandon said, you can't root against the guy. No, Brandon's the only reason we'll root against him.
Sounds good. I'll tell you a team. I know you don't want to hear it. You're wearing their shirt. San Francisco 49ers definitely should call him. Trey Lance, you have no idea what he's going to be. Okay, you don't. And what we saw of him, he got injured very quickly. Jimmy Garoppolo, you're going to keep testing that fire.
I think Jimmy's gone after the year is over.
Yeah, Brock Purdy.
Undefeated as a starter.
Yeah,
never
sure.
lost.
Yeah. And Baker's a better quarterback than him, so he can lead you farther.
I don't know if San Francisco want to have 3 different quarterbacks for all deserving. Yes, Baker would fit in San Francisco, but truth be told, I would rather roll the dice with Lance, who I kind of trade up to get with the 3rd overall pick, and also while seeing how well their backup has performed.
Well, they're gonna have to start having a conversation about whether it's Brock Purdy or Trey Lance.
I also think we need to recognize Baker is not a fit for the Niners offense. That's targeting the middle of the field a lot, and that's not his strength. I don't know if he'd be best utilized there. And for Kyle Shanahan, he's run that offense before in Cleveland, but there's an even larger emphasis.
The offense is put the ball in the playmaker's hands.
But Baker doesn't see the middle of the field particularly well.
Samuel.
Yeah, but
that's bootlegs.
I think the 49ers are in a great spot. I mean, look at where they're at right now, record-wise. My NFC favorite.
Are they next year? No, next year I'm talking about next year.
I still think they are.
Sure, because they're going to have to start having a conversation. I'm being serious. If Brock Purdy, which you guys believe can lead them to the Super Bowl, and let's say they win, there is going to be a dead-ass conversation that needs to be had, whether you're going with Brock Purdy for the remainder of his career or Trey Lance. And if you choose Brock Purdy, you are admitting defeat about picking Trey Lance, and that was a catastrophic failure.
But you know what? It can't be that catastrophic if it comes out with a Super Bowl trophy on top.
No, because he wasn't the reason. No, that's
you're right. But you know what? At that point, you're like, we fluffed on that pick. That sucks. We gave it too much.
That's not how it's going to look.
We get a Super Bowl in return, so it's okay. And the reason why I say so, there's a saying in baseball that I feel like applies here to the 49ers, and it's that you can never have too much pitching. And I don't think you can ever have too much in that QB room. Obviously, it can cause a little bit of controversy, but if you have 1, 2, I mean, look at the Patriots the year that Tom Brady got suspended. You had Jimmy G there. Jimmy G went down. Then you have Jacoby Brissett. And then Brady comes back.
No, but then what happened? What happened after that was literally caused where we are right now. Because there's an old saying, I forget who said it. It might have been Bill Parcells. He's got a lot of quotes. If you got 2 quarterbacks, you don't got 1. You don't got any quarterbacks. You can't have more than 1. Name me the position where this has worked out in the past, where if you have more than 1 starting quarterback, it's worked out. It doesn't work out.
Okay.
Eventually it flames out.
Look at a team like the Cleveland Browns right now. Albeit not looking fantastic this year.
Jacoby's not a starting caliber quarterback. He's a good
Jacoby. He was awesome this year.
He played very well.
On his name.
So that's what I'm saying. You never know what these quarterbacks can actually turn into. Jimmy G, you weren't high on Jimmy G. Nobody knows what Trey Lance is. and we're figuring out what the hell Brock Purdy is right now. But one thing that we can tell you about Jimmy G is he's a winner. One thing that we can tell you about Trey Lance is he's supremely talented, which is why he was drafted so high. And Brock Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant. We didn't know a damn thing about him until this year. And all that we know, we're starting to learn, he's a pretty all right quarterback. I mean, they're undefeated with him as a starter right now. And I think everybody in the league outside of you is very confident in the playoffs with Brock Purdy under center right now. So I think this is a good problem to have, because if the 49ers go on to win a Super Bowl with Brock Purdy, that shows, one, they probably have their quarterback.
And also, real quick, I know we're wrapping this thing up. Trey Lance is a mystery box. Trey Lance is a project. Trey Lance has started in just 3 games in his career. The 4th he got hurt. Trey Lance should sit behind somebody for another year and then work his way in. Because of that, when you see Brock Purdy winning these games, there's not as much pressure on Lance to come in immediately, because you're seeing they come in with his backup. And so for Kyle Shanahan, he knows, look, I can roll with either guy. And because Lance hasn't proven anything, we can work him in slowly but surely as he continues to progress and get more live game reps in the process. Maybe Brock Purdy misses a game. Maybe they ride with the hot hand. Who knows? I don't think it's Tom Brady, who was, at that point, a 15-year NFL veteran, compared to 2 guys who have less than a year's worth of starting games. So I'm not really too bent out of shape over it, man. They'll be fine. They'll win a Super Bowl. And you know what? Kyle Shanahan will get that respect as the quarterback guru, the offensive genius. And so for these guys, they'll be fine.
Yes, sir.
With all that being said, we're going to save the Zach Wilson talk for our next episode. No reason to continue laboring on here. With all that in mind, how are the Chargers doing right now? What's the score of that game?
20-3.
Yeah.
I have a question for you guys. Who is more likely to win a playoff game this season? The Chargers or the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Justin Herbert and the Chargers. I feel like a lot of us, you guys had them going to an AFC title game at some point. This team is good. I don't care what nobody says. Justin Herbert is not good. Justin Herbert is great. This guy's elite. And I've said it before. I said they're going to win out, and they seem to be well on their way to doing that. With the win today, they're booking themselves a playoff spot. And any team that goes up to face them should be scared.
Here's the thing, Justin. If your Baltimore Ravens, let's say, lose another game, and the Chargers went out like you said, I think the Chargers will be moving into the 5th spot. Do you know who they would be playing in round 1? In Jacksonville, the Jaguars.
Should be a show.
I would favor the Jaguars in that matchup. So
I would also favor the Jaguars.
I would say, to answer your question, John, I think the Jaguars have a better shot at winning a playoff game than the Los Angeles Chargers. Especially if the Chargers stay at the 6th spot, they're going to have to face the Cincinnati Bengals, and they ain't beating the Bengals.
I'm already ruining this. The Los Angeles Chargers, the kings of biggest offseason winners. With all that being said, I want to thank each and every single one of you for watching and staying to the very end. I'm John Tortorella. This is Brendan Capizzello and Justin Ray. Be sure to drop a like and let us know in the comments down below where you stand on these debates and what topics you want to see next. And as always, we will see you next time. Peace.
Stay classy.
Walla walla.